Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 16 of the F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, where today we're here back for the Singapore Grand Prix. Now obviously if you missed out on yesterday's video, first of all, what on earth were you doing? I won't leave any spoilers at the start of this one, but make sure you click above me to the eye at the top right hand side of your screens and you go back and check that video out. I would definitely recommend checking that one out, obviously if you missed it. But today though, we head to Singapore and some big news coming into this weekend. Romain Grosjean is going to be retiring from Formula 1. Now, whether that's Haas letting him go and they're allowing him to say it's a retirement or not, we don't really know. But yeah, Grosjean is going to be out of the sport at the end of the year. I don't know, obviously, if that means he's just impossible to hire now. Let's have a quick look, see if there's any potential chance of being able to hire him later on. Is he on the roster for potential? There's Magnussen. Oh, I don't think he is. No, so you can't even hire Romain Grosjean then, so he's not interested in racing in Formula 1 anymore. So our first retirement in the F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. But before we head into this weekend, hopefully we'll be able to get another power part on the car. We've now got one of the upgrades has come through. You can see that was the crankshaft upgrade as well. We've now only got a weaker engine than Mercedes and Ferrari in Formula 1 at the moment. So we'll probably aim to try and get either the magnetic compound or the ECU upgrade on the car this weekend. But we've also got $4 million to spend. So we're probably going to try and go with the build time upgrade on the engine department there. 2 million credits. That'll be ready by the 22nd of September. As well as we're going to go with the fitness centre for another 1.5 million to slightly improve Jordan King's racecraft and awareness stats. So they'll both be in just a couple of weeks' time. But apart from that, I'm getting a little bit worried. I'm starting to wonder if Jordan King thinks he's actually worth more than he probably is to our team. He wants 3 million for next season. I don't know if, in all honesty, I'm willing to pay 3 million for Jordan King, because he's still only 66 rated. And you look at people like Nick de Vries, who've got a 70 rating and they're only expecting 2 million. Maybe, just maybe, let me know down in the comments below what you think about keeping Jordan King for next season. But we head, though, to Singapore this weekend. Hopefully, we can have a nice, clean, tidy race weekend. This track's never particularly been all too well for me. It's never really played into my favour all too much. But maybe on F1 2020, that'll be a little bit different. Anyway, let's dive into this. So, free practice done and dusted then, and as always, pretty explanatory there. We were able to get a lot of points on the board. It also means we have now got a third sponsor on the car. I forgot to mention that at the start of the video. So we should be making even more money week in, week out now, obviously, in this series. We're definitely considering looking at trying to hire someone else for Season 2 at the moment. But I'm also worried about if, on the other hand, we get an R&D rule change, which obviously we might then have to just farm all our points in a hopes to try and save one or maybe even more of our departments. We put a lot of upgrades on the car so far this season. You can see I don't think we've had anything come through on the messages so far this weekend. You can see just where we are in comparison to everyone else, all that good stuff. But yeah, apart from that, nothing really has been mentioned this weekend. We're down, unfortunately, we have slipped down to 10th place once again, but still, it's so close between everyone from Alfa Romeo down to ourselves. It doesn't make much of a difference at the end of the day, but we are going to slap on the magnetic compound upgrade then. What does it actually do? Replace the traditional magnets within the grooves of the rotor with a sophisticated collection of rare earth metals with a stronger magnetic properties, creates a stronger magnetic field and thus increases energy recovery. So that is a good upgrade to have them. So that will certainly be useful over the next couple of race weekends. Obviously we head to a couple more sort of fairly power orientated circuits, but it's just ideal to have everywhere, in all honesty, with how OP ERS is on F1 2020. But that's all sorted then. That should therefore bring us back in line with sort of the top runners in the midfield. But let's head out then, ready for qualifying here from Singapore. So, going out then for our first run in Q1. Hopefully we can just keep it nice and tidy, get a good banker on the board. Obviously the car does feel quite good round here, rather surprisingly. And after last race weekend's result, I'm sure that obviously gives you a little bit more confidence trying to push as well. But sometimes you go from a high to one of your worst lows in the world of Formula 1. It's a very, very strange place. Let's see as we make a mistake through one. And Giovinazzi, you're going to block us again, are you, buddy? Just like you did last week. Get out of the way. How many times is Giovinazzi going to do that? Let's just see if we can try and get a lap hooked up. One of the main problems I always seem to have at Singapore is actually understeer, but this car doesn't seem to be struggling with it too badly. It's normally just the setups you roll with seem to, for me, yeah, really get the front tyres scrubbing a lot, but we almost clipped the wall into there, which is anything but understeer. Taking a bit too much curb into the final chicane. Let's try and get the power out into the final corner. Try and keep it nice and tidy up towards the white lines. It's going to be a 36.3, which puts us ahead of Perez and Sainz, only half a second off Seb. That's rather good. I'll take that for our first lap. So, end of Q1 then, we somehow managed to go through in P8 there, but a very, very tightly knit bunch there between, you can see Verstappen, 1.1, and then, well, Lando Norris, or even Sainz, Ocon, and Grosjean, pretty much down to the drop zone, all within about 0.3 of a second there. Magnussen out though, as well as Raikkonen, both Alfa Romeos, our teammate, and of course the two Williams cars there. So a little bit of an interesting qualifying session. Albon really struggling down in P12. It doesn't seem to be a track that's suiting Red Bull at all this weekend. I mean, yeah, Max Verstappen just a 10th quicker than him, 6 places higher up the road. My maths has fallen apart this weekend. This is just what Singapore does to me. The Racing Point, completely tied in Q1 as well. Let's see if we can potentially squeeze through into Q3, but it will take quite a worldie of a run. Here we go then, going out for our first Q2 run. If we can try and get a good bank lap in again, I'll be very happy. It's one of those horrible tracks where you've just got to absolutely be on it, absolutely everywhere. Satisfying you get it right, but horrible if you get one corner wrong, because that normally means you get a lot of corners wrong. Down in towards one. Try and keep it a bit tidier that time round. Just got to be careful on the power, careful on the brakes. It's such a sensitive track. As we open up the width through turn 4 as much as possible. Activate the DRS. Down the back straightaway. Ocon is our benchmark at the moment. What time has the Renault man done? We're fractionally up in the end of Sector 1 as we try to open up the width through the next couple of corners. Down into first gear just for a little bit of extra rotation. Tiro Limitless has joined the chat, and then just really opening up the space as best as possible here. Down in towards what used to be obviously be the Singapore Sling. Very changed layout nowadays. Ride the curbs as best as possible. We've upped the ride height to be able to combat that. And then back down into first gear over the Anderson Bridge, trying to get the power down. Back up into second gear. You can activate the DRS so early out onto the back straightaway here, but down in towards Sector 3, we're a few tenths up on Pierre Gasly. A bit of a lock-up, though, there. Was not what we needed. Final few corners of the lap. It's all starting to get a little bit scrappy, I'll be honest, but we'll wait and see. Down in towards the grandstand. Try and just avoid the wheel spin. Attack the curbs nicely. Open up the space. Almost grazed the wall there. In towards the final corner, just full commitment, a little bit understeering on the entry, but it's going to be a 36.5, which puts us right on the bubble there. Down in 10th place, we will, however, get one more run. Here we go then, going out for our second and final attempt here in Q2. Let's see if we can try and get the lap nailed a bit more. There was definitely a bit more time to find after our first run. Let's just see if we can keep it nice and tidy. We've got a good benchmark on the board. Let's see if we can just find a little bit more time. That's not been the run through the first couple of corners we needed. Clipping way too much curb. Quite a lot of understeer. Unfortunately, roll on the power over the bump. Out onto the back straight. We're about a 10th down in Sector 1, which is not what we need. However, obviously, if no one else improves, we will still scrape through. Let's just quiet and concentrate in towards a couple of these twisty bits. Just taking a bit too much curb again there. Just losing a little bit of time here and there. Oh, dink the wall. That's not been good. That's a bit of front wing damage, so now we're really, really going to struggle. If we want to try and improve, we're going to have to absolutely nail everything in the second half of this lap. Ride the curves as best as possible. Oh, big lock up there. No, I think the lap's probably already gone, in all honesty. Although we're still only a 10th down, so we may as well just stick at it. See if we can find anything more. No, it's all over. Try and get out of the way before... Come on. Don't want to ruin anyone else's laps. That was not what we needed there. Just struggling the bit as we were trying to over-push the car. And yeah, it's all now down to whether anyone else can find any time. 30 seconds left in Q2. We made it to Q3 for the first time in quite a while last weekend, so I'm happy that we were able to get back into Q2 again, but I think we're just going to sit on track and just wait to see if any of the AI go quicker than us, because obviously, oh god, there's Gasly. Getting a little bit in the way. It's the problem with Singapore. It's just such a tight, twisty circuit. Sykes comes through, he doesn't... Well, he might have already been ahead of us. Lando, obviously still ahead of us, so he doesn't matter. Ricciardo just behind us. What's Ocon going to be able to do? He doesn't improve on us, so Grosjean might be the man that can go quicker than us at the end. I don't know who's ahead of us and who isn't. As we head through the final couple of corners, is Grosjean going to go better than us? No, we've been moved down to P11, and it wasn't even Grosjean that did it. I think it was Perez in the end there, but that is heartbreaking. We just miss out on Q3. However, we will have fresh rubber for the start. Let's just dive right into this then here from Singapore.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging Grand Prix. It's a 3.1-mile lap here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, with 47% taken at full throttle. It's hot, humid and bumpy around the 13 lefts and the 10 rights of mostly slow corners, but we should see speeds of up to 200 miles per hour along the Raffles Boulevard. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Why don't we kick off by discussing Max Verstappen? Looks like they've got a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Alexander Albon, and Perez, Kvyat, Stroll, Norris, and Mr. Monaco, Ricciardo, Grosjean, Carlos Sainz, and Ocon, Verstappen, Gasly, Kevin Magnussen, and Kimi Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, King, Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Let's see if we can keep the momentum up. Let's get another podium.
So, I think, once again, the team are probably being a little bit optimistic if they think there's a podium on the cards today, but we'll give it our best shot. I think for us the aim will probably be to see if we can try and score some more points on the board. But race strategy wise though, they're suggesting we start on a set of these soft compounded tyres. I'm tempted to go mediums. Medium softs might be the way to go. I don't really know. We'll see how the turbo goes, I guess. Probably the best way to go about it. Maybe we could try and stretch a medium soft strategy, or perhaps, I don't know, medium soft softs. We'll see how we get on in the Grand Prix. But yeah, but hopefully just starting on those mediums, it might shake up the grid a little bit. There's no real point sticking with what the top 10 are doing. If we get a lucky safety car, it might elevate us up the order a bit more. So yeah, we'll wait and see about that. But the game's now suggesting actually the one stop might be quicker mediums onto hard, so we might think about going with that in this Grand Prix as well. We'll see how we get on in the first few laps, see what the tyre temps are like and everything like that. But if we can score more points on the board, I'll be very, very happy. A stark difference, this track, obviously, to Monza and Spa, the last two races. So yeah, I'd be very, very happy, clearly proving that the aero package is working everywhere at the moment. But we're ready then on the grid. It's 5 red lights here in Singapore, and it's lights out, and away we go. Actually, off to a good start for once. Actually saying that Ricciardo might try and switch to the inside in towards 1. Yes, he is trying to avoid the Renault. And somehow, 3 wide with both of the other manufacturers or teams that run our engines. And we've held on and we've actually made up the place there as Norris drops back down ever so slightly. Kvyat, Stroll and Perez all getting a little bit into each other there. That might allow us to run on the Racing Point, the Canadian, as we head down the boulevard for the first time in this Grand Prix. Stroll, though, is going to try and keep the nose up the inside. We're going to try and swing it around the outside. He does give us the room. We're still side by side as we head now down into Sector 2, but we make the move work and run into P8. So a good little start for ourselves in the end, especially considering on the harder compounded tyres. This race might just be a bit more about us versus Ricciardo in terms of the midfield battle, as AlphaTauri look quite strong this weekend. Kvyat up in 7th. I'm sure they take those points quite happily. But we have survived the start. Now it's a case of trying to settle down into a rhythm around here. Coming to the end of lap 1, you can see Bottas still leading the way. Now our championship leader from pole position. I'm sure he's looking now really like there's a good chance he could close out this World Championship. You know, just the way Mercedes have been over the last few races, Ferrari don't quite seem to have the pace anymore relative to them. But we've settled down alright off the start. We're not really taking much time out of Kvyat and Perez, but to be honest, I'm not really expecting to. We're playing our own race today. We're just going to try and keep our head down and see what works for us. However, safety cars are a very, very likely occurrence. I think we've had one still at every single Grand Prix, minus Zandvoort at the start of the year. Coming towards the end then of lap 3, and Kvyat and Perez are already struggling on their soft compounded tyres. They really just never worked too well around this place, just temps and everything like that, and you can see Kvyat just struggling to get on the power in through the final complex of corners. But yeah, both the AlphaTauri and the Racing Point really just struggling to make it work. You can see actually the Ferrari's just up the road as well. I'm not too sure which one that is, but even they're not pulling away from us at the moment. So yeah, these mediums working wonders at the start of this Grand Prix. Let's see if we can try and line up a move on Kvyat, as that is not the run we needed through turn 1. So we'll have to go around there, about roughly where it would have been. And we hold on to track position. A little bit of an interpretation of where the old traffic cone or whatever it was, the bollard would have been, but we haven't gained anything, and that's the most important thing. This time around we're a little bit closer to Danny Kvyat, and he broke way earlier than I was expecting, and that is not what we needed, and that is going to be us way down, basically at the rear of the field by the looks of it. But we avoided the AlphaTauri in the end, but that has not been a good moment for ourselves. He just broke a little bit earlier than I was expecting, and I didn't think we were going to make the corner, so I'd rather be at the back than without a front wing. Now, this race is going to be a lot more difficult. And we see if we can close up and get past Latifi ASAP, because I do not want to be sat behind the Williams for very long in this Grand Prix. But yeah, pretty much all these guys also on the mediums, so we'll see what strat they go with. Very loose out the final corner. We need to try and get our head down and focus now. Should be able to get the run around the outside of Latifi as we head down the boulevard again. There we go, back past the Williams, and now we're up into 21st again. Hopefully we can just put a bit of an overtaking spree on. First of the AI to start diving into the pits then, so yeah, very clearly those soft tyres haven't worked out the way anyone would have wanted them to. Russell going defensive in towards turn 1. I'll be able to try and get past him, but we're out ahead of Bottas. He is stuck behind Latifi now, so that might work out well for Hamilton, trying an overcut. Now we need to try and really get past Russell, though. The AI like to be feisty on F1 2020, it appears, but yeah, that should be a fair bit of overspeed on the Williams. A little bit of moving around, I'll be honest. Even more contact as we get into towards the apex, but we've done it, and we're now up at a P17. Even more AI starting to dive it down into the pit lane, so yeah, very clear that all of the soft runners aren't happy with the rubber there, so we are going to be back out up into P12 of the Grand Prix. However, I think that, well, Hamilton, and I'm not 100% too sure which Ferrari it is, I'm pretty certain it's Leclerc actually started this race on mediums, so they might have finessed the strat here because Bottas, he's got past Latifi, but he is still stuck behind George Russell, and that will be costing him time absolutely everywhere, especially as he's not planning on going to the end either, and maybe those guys will. We, however, are more focused on Jordan King. However, now Bottas is the car behind us, so will we be watching our mirrors before we're looking to line up a move? I think the answer to that question is basically both at the same time. We're all over the back now of our teammate Jordan King as he locks up into one, but you can see Bottas is willing to go for any move he possibly can. There's a World Championship on the line for us. We, however, have got very little to lose and a lot that we could potentially gain here. And one more driver into the pit, so Jordan King, our teammate, is now up into the points officially. But we are just not quite able to go for anything just yet. Oh, Jordan, a little bit of a mistake out of the final corner. Can we now finally try and go for a move? Big send in towards one, but we should be able to do it. There we go. We're now up into 10th place of the Grand Prix. As now Bottas has got to contend with our teammate before ourselves. I've noticed Bottas has been going a little bit, sort of lunging, having a bit of a look into a couple of corners. So he's clearly not afraid to go for moves at the moment, but at this stage of the day, all I can imagine for him is he's just watching his race lead, obviously held at the start, just absolutely falling away. Magnussen now next car on the old hit list. He's aware of us there, so he's going to go very defensive in towards turn one. We're going to try and swing it right around the outside of the Haas, but he holds the nose there. Can we try and get the power down off the exit of turn two? I don't quite think we're there. No, we are not. As into turn four, you can see Magnussen just once again parking the bus. Bottas, I'm sure, is just going to be looking at this thinking, can we both move out of the way? As Magnussen gives us a big squeeze down in towards the next braking zone. Round the outside we go. Magnussen, feel like he had a little bit of understeer there as there's yellow flags out. Who's that for? I'm not too sure. We're still just behind us. It's the Ferrari. That's Sebastian Vettel and the safety car.
No overtaking, reduce your pace.
So that really does spice this up then. What strat can we get the Haas to the end? What are the team going to say? Team is saying softs on lap 16. I'm saying we go on to hards now and see, just see if we can try and drag them towards the end of this Grand Prix. Effectively, trying to get as close to a no-stop as possible here. Coming down into the final couple of corners then, you can see everyone in front of us is going to stream into the pit lane here. We're all over the back of Kimi Räikkönen. Where is the pit box? There, well, sorry, the speed limit. There it is. So everyone is into the pit lane here. As you can quite clearly see, McLarens are in, Haas are in, Alfa Romeo in, Renault are in, Alfa Tauri are in. Everyone has got at least one car in the pit lane here, and everyone appears to be going on to the hards. Can we get in gear at some point today? There we go. We haven't lost a spot, I don't think. We're behind Grosjean. In fact, I know we've gained a spot on Räikkönen. So that's good.
No more scheduled pit stops.
So we're up a spot then, but we're back down into P16 of the Grand Prix. However, now basically the whole field is neutralised again. Apart from, I think, Bottas has stayed out there. So, interesting strats coming from Mercedes. Hamilton and Leclerc have both dived it in, so they're going to the end ahead of their championship rival and leader. So, nearing the halfway stage then of this Grand Prix, and the safety car is going to be coming back in at the end of this lap. Hamilton still out front with Charles Leclerc just behind him. They're both looking to try and take as many points as possible out of championship leader Valtteri Bottas in P3. I can't help but feel like that is a big blow to Seb's championship challenge. Obviously came into this Grand Prix in third place. Second place even, I think he was in the Constructors' Championship. So maybe it's not all over just yet for Sebastian. But out into the final couple of corners. It should be green flag racing once again in just a moment. There we go. Very cold rubber though. At the final corner there. It's actually Räikkönen might be able to get a bit of a run on us down in towards turn one. We're going to try and swing the nose around the outside. Just about keep it between the white lines. And then down into turn 2 and turn 3. Should be able to get the traction on him. Yes, we do. And we hold on to P16 then. But Räikkönen, just behind us, clearly looking feisty. As Grosjean now, the car in front. Obviously a man that's retiring at the end of this season. Grosjean making a couple of little mistakes here and there, so he's definitely starting to feel the pressure of ourselves behind him, but we just don't seem to quite have enough down the straightaways at the moment to have a look past the Haas car. However, for us though, nice to see Raikkonen's drop back a little bit, because he looked like he was going to go for a dive bomb just about anywhere a dive bomb could be made. Oh, Grosjean, big lock up there. That won't have helped you out, buddy, but still, can't quite make anything work from it. We've just got to try and get a run somewhere on the Haas car, but Grosjean, yeah, clearly struggling, clearly thinking more about his retirement plans than the 6 or 7 races he's got left in the sport. And that's what I'm talking about. Very, very weird. Grosjean just sort of parked on the apex. Nothing really we could do, but the team are happy about it, so we'll be very, very, you know, we'll take it. Up into P15 once again. DRS has now been enabled. Next up the road, Gasly. You can already see now as we reach the halfway stage the gap that the top 3 have been able to open up over the Racing Point and the AlphaTauri just behind them. I'm sure if this was real life, Helmut Marko would be on the radio to Danny Kvyat, going, get out of the way. Max and Albon need to try and fight for wins here, but Red Bull yet to win a race, I think, this entire season, which kind of says it all, considering McLaren have, and so have ourselves. Really not been a year to remember for the Milton Keynes-based team, but we need to try and close up.
It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
Someone's got a problem with their car. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear who it was. I think they said Giovinazzi. He's just up the road, so I'm sure we'll find out very, very soon. But yeah, Gasly in the AlphaTauri, though, we need to be focused on him rather than what Helmut Marko would be thinking. Oh, Mercedes into the pits. I'm going to guess that's Bottas as well as one of the Racing Points. Who's it going to be? Yep, Perez and Bottas both into the pit lane. So they're basically going to be at the rear of the field now, looking to try and go to the end of this Grand Prix, because no one else is planning on pitting between now and the end. That is a big, big title blow for I don't know why I can't remember names anymore, for Valtteri Bottas, who just as he gets into the lead of the championship, it seems to be the curse of 2020 so far. When you claim the lead in the world title, something usually goes badly wrong for you quite soon. We, though, are still just trying to hound Gasly, seeing if we can try and force a mistake out of him. Oh my god, Gasly broke way too early there. Or at least way earlier than I was expecting him to, so we've accidentally sent it on the AlphaTauri. We'll take the move. Hopefully that'll look quite good. But yeah, Felipe Massa, if he can do it, so can I. I'm into 12. Oh, Sainz into the pits. Wasn't expecting that. I didn't even spotted he was on the softs. So Giovinazzi might have to pit as well as Hamilton and Leclerc have both dived it in. So I've got no idea what strats everyone's going for now. This has completely shaken up the race. But maybe not so bad for Bottas then. But he is still going to be behind his 2 title rivals still in this Grand Prix. Danny Kvyat now leads this Grand Prix though. Who would have thought that coming into it? All over the back now of Esteban Ocon, who's going to go defensive at the end of the back straight. Can we hook it up around the outside? Holy moly. Just right around the outside of the Renault. I don't think I'll be able to pull that one off again anytime soon. But we're now up to P8. Giovinazzi's definitely going to have to dive it in again. Stroll is probably going to have to dive it into the pit lane again. I've got no idea what other cars are planning on doing at the moment. We're just trying to, like I've said at the beginning, play our own race, keep our head down, and see what we can muster up. There goes Giovinazzi into the pit lane. So now it's a Red Bull in the lead of Alex Albon into the lead of the Grand Prix with Daniel Ricciardo in P2, and he might also be going to the end. Nobody knows what's happening at the moment, but I'm sure a Ricciardo win no one had bets on before we jumped into this. A long way to go, however. And there we go, Albon into the pits at the end of lap 19, so Ricciardo now up into the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix. They narrowly missed out on a podium last weekend. Are we seeing a bit of a resurgence from Renault now, or will Ricciardo have to pit late on into this race? The hards are working quite well for ourselves, but I mean, Ricciardo, myself and Ocon on the podium, Gasly and Grosjean 4th and 5th. This would be quite a turnout for the books. Most impressive things about this at the moment, with just 10 laps to go, is the fact that Ricciardo is still actually pulling away from ourselves. We've got so many cars behind that are defending from Hamilton and Leclerc because they can send some brilliant points opportunities for themselves. Renault, so far, are looking brilliant for some constructors' points, especially after obviously Ocon's 4th place last time out as well. It's, yeah, just clearly all got a bit crazy at the moment. One of the Red Bulls now is in last place. I'm not too sure which one that is or why, but it's all kicking off here at Singapore. 7 laps to go then here from Singapore. The gap to Ricciardo has come down just a little bit, but nowhere near enough. I just can't believe there's a fair chance that we might get back-to-back podiums in this series. And, I mean, everyone on this podium would just be crazy. Everyone inside the top 5. I think it's Raikkonen. It might still be Giovinazzi. I know it must be Raikkonen in P6. Is doing the top 5 absolute wonders by holding back the Mercedes and Ferraris. But I'm just sort of sat here in awe at the moment as to just the turnaround we've had since the summer break. 7 laps to go though. We need to keep the front wing nice and tidy. That's obviously the priority, but this might be the 3rd different Renault-powered team to win a Grand Prix this year. I wouldn't have a clue when the last time an engine supplier was able to do that in a single year. If any of you know, please do let me know down in the comments, because I'm thinking it must be sort of 80s or 90s. But yeah, I've really got no idea. Might have been 2000s to be fair, might have been Mercedes power one year, but yeah, it's all just getting a bit crazy at the moment. We're just trying to keep our head down and try to contain the excitement, because Singapore is one absolute brutal circuit and it will bite back at any point, as we've already seen this race, remember. 3 laps to go then here from Singapore. We're just being a bit careful at the moment because the engine light is on for the control electronics. If for those of you that aren't aware, to stop wear on those, you don't hit the curbs. A bit difficult, I'll be honest, around the Singapore Grand Prix, but I'm very, very much expecting us to have to take a few pens ready for the next Grand Prix out. But the gap to Ricciardo still at about 4 seconds. We've taken a bit of time out of him, but I can imagine Renault have told him just control the pace. I don't think we're ever going to get close enough to challenge him, unless something catastrophically goes wrong for the Renault man. But yeah, 3 laps to go. We're just trying to bring it home for what would be 43 points in 2 races. That would be pretty damn good if you ask me. Coming on to the final lap then of the Singapore Grand Prix. What a crazy few races we've had. I mean, this whole season there's been some pretty brilliant races in F1 2020 my team, but Daniel Ricciardo is just 3.1 miles away from making history here for Renault. Esteban Ocon, obviously, he just missed out on the podium last weekend. Hopefully, for his sake, Gasly doesn't get past him on this final lap. A battle between the 2 French drivers for what would obviously be Gasly's 2nd ever Formula 1 podium. Esteban Ocon, I'm sure, would love to get his first after a very, very tough time so far in the world of Formula 1. But yeah, once again though, I think, to be honest, the person we've got to thank most of all for this result is probably Sergio Perez, because obviously he was the one that knocked us out in qualifying right at the dying stages of Q2. We therefore wouldn't have been able to start on the mediums, wouldn't have then gone on to the hards from a prime position, and then wouldn't have done basically the same strategy as Daniel Ricciardo, who is looking like he's going to go on to win this Grand Prix. I've been trying to do a little bit of maths, and I think, sadly, there's a Williams down in P11, so it looks like they're just going to miss out on their first points of the season. But yeah, again, just doing a bit of mental maths, I think this result will mean so far since the summer break, we will be the highest point scorer in Formula 1. There's been a lot of luck on our side, I'll be honest, over the last couple of Grand Prix, but it feels great to be starting to get some good form back in. The car's working wonders as well at the moment, but through the final couple of corners, Ricciardo is going to get Renault's first win since 2008, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to come through for P2, and I think Ocon is going to hold on to P3. What a day for Renault Power.
Excellent drive. The team have worked especially hard this weekend, and this is a fantastic reward.
sublime performance to secure the top step of the podium today. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, the safety car completely changed the race, didn't it? It's hard to say exactly what would have happened without it, but there's no question that they came out of that situation in a good position.
Once again, it's podium time, and once again, it's a clear win for Renault. Renault have seen their fair share of success in Formula One, and today is proof that they've still got what it takes to thrill us all. Congratulations to everyone on the team. Let's see how the driver standings have changed. More points for Valtteri Bottas, further solidifying his lead at the top of the table. Now, let's discuss, Ants. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
I'll probably go for Pierre Gasly. The team did a good job with the strategy to put him in amongst the pack, but it's the driver's job to capitalise on those opportunities, and he did so with a lot of skill.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, Renault move up the table with another strong performance this weekend. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
So there we are then, the end of the Singapore Grand Prix, and it's Renault who pick up all the top spots there, and obviously the spoils from what was quite a crazy race at the end of the day. I'm sure after Spain, a lot of questions were asked about the Works team. Obviously, when Lando Norris was able to win for McLaren, I'm sure even more questions were asked last week. Obviously, after we won on the most power-orientated circuit on the F1 calendar. But Renault, the one team without any, sort of top three, the one engine supplier without a top three team, has now had all three of their teams win Grand Prix this season. It now just means that it's only Honda that are yet to get a race win as an engine supplier so far this year. And Pierre Gasly coming through for P4 there. Romain Grosjean in 5th means we get a French 3rd, 4th and 5th in Formula 1 as well there. Raikkonen in 6th means that, well, no driver who made it into Q3 finished any higher than 7th there at the end of the day. So clearly the tyre wear really did have a profound effect this weekend. Hamilton, though, able to get a 1:38.9 fastest lap, but down in P7. Not the race I'm sure he would have wanted at the end of the day. Charles Leclerc down in 8th ahead of Bottas in 9th. They had a golden opportunity to take a lot of points out of the Finn there, but not quite the way it worked out when all is said and done there. Magnussen makes it a double points finish for Haas there, so only Renault, Mercedes and Haas getting both cars into the points when all is said and done. And then poor George Russell just missing out on points once again there with an 11th place. When will that man finally score some F1 points there? He, though, was just ahead of my teammate Jordan King at the end of the day, with Perez and Lando Norris 13th and 14th there. Albon is shocking there out in 15th ahead of Latifi, Danny Kvyat, Stroll, Sainz, and then Verstappen down in 20th there, only just beating Antonio Giovinazzi at the end of the day there, with Seb the one man not to make it to the checkered flag there. Championship-wise, though, we're still at P6 there, and we've further extended our lead over Alex Albon in the Drivers' Championship. Could we hold on to that? Could we potentially beat one of the Red Bull drivers in our first year in Formula 1? I genuinely think we've actually scored more points finishes than Albon at this stage of the year. The amount of times in recent weeks we've said, look at that Albon down in like 12th, 13th, everything like that. But title-wise, though, Bottas 24 clear of Seb at the top there. Charles Leclerc 31 back now, just 1 point ahead of Lewis Hamilton. So it's not all over yet, but Bottas is looking good, looking comfortable. We will have to wait and see how that continues to fare there. Ricciardo with that win makes sure he now moves himself up inside the top 10 there ahead of Norris, Perez and Carlos Sainz there, with Esteban Ocon even, I should say, now just 2 points behind the Spaniard there. Stroll and Raikkonen, as you can see, Gasly down in 15th there, and Grosjean with that brilliant result moves himself past Giovinazzi and Kvyat there, with Magnussen still in 19th there. My teammate Jordan King in 20th, and both the Williams cars still, unfortunately, not out of the starting blocks. And constructors-wise, Renault go from 7th to 4th with that result there. Just 7 points now separating all three Renault-powered cars in the championship. Renault 122, McLaren 121, us on 115 there with Racing Point a little bit further back, but they're still looking strong at the moment there, with Alfa Romeo 10 points now clear of AlphaTauri. Haas on 21 and Williams still on 0 there. It is not looking good for Williams at the moment in 11th place there. But Mercedes still 23 clear at the top of the standings as well. And yeah, Renault, well, all three of us, probably Racing Point as well, closer to Red Bull than they are to Ferrari as well there. But thank you all so much for watching once again. Maybe, just maybe, we'll get a normal race in the latter stages of this season. But yeah, a big thank you for the continued support. Make sure you get yourself subscribed and be back here tomorrow when we head, I think, to the Russian Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.